B. Have you ever looked in the mirror and, instead of seeing yourself, you only saw the needs, desires, and problems of someone else? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? As if your own reflection is replaced by the person you were so desperately trying to take care of. This isn't just being a kind or caring person. It's a sign of something much deeper, a pattern known as codependency. So, what exactly is codependency? In simple terms, it's a learned behavioral pattern where your sense of self-worth and identity becomes completely wrapped up in caretaking. Feel valuable only when you're needed, when you're solving someone else's problems or making someone else happy. Your life becomes a reaction to others rather than a proactive journey of your own. It's like you're a supporting character in your own story, constantly pushing the protagonist someone else into the spotlight while you fade into the background. This isn't a personality flaw or a sign of weakness. It's a survival mechanism, a way of relating to the world that you likely learned a very long time ago. But just because it's learned doesn't mean it has to be your forever. Today, we're going to unpack what codependency truly is, how it affects your mental health, where it comes from, and most importantly, how you can begin the journey of healing and reclaiming yourself. Let's dive into how codependency shows up in your day-to-day life and mental well-being. One of the most significant manifestations is emotional neglect, but not the neglect of others, the neglect of yourself. You might find you're a master at understanding and managing other people's emotions. You can sense when a friend is down, when a partner is angry, or when a family member is anxious. You rush in to soothe, to fix, to make it all better. Yet, when it comes to your own feelings, it's a different story. You might feel a pang of sadness, a surge of anger, or a wave of anxiety, and your first instinct is to push it down, to ignore it, telling yourself you don't have time for this, or that someone else's needs are more urgent. This creates a profound disconnect from your own inner world, leaving you feeling empty and unseen, even by yourself. Then there are the boundary issues. For someone with codependent patterns, the word no can feel like the heaviest word in the dictionary. Saying no might trigger an avalanche of guilt and fear. You might worry that if you don't agree to something, you'll be seen as selfish, uncaring, or difficult. Underneath this is a deep-seated fear of abandonment. You believe that your value in the relationship is tied to your usefulness and your willingness to accommodate. So, you say yes when you mean no. You overextend yourself. You take on tasks that aren't yours, and you stretch your emotional and physical resources to their breaking point, all to avoid the possibility of someone leaving you or being disappointed in you, too. It's like you're trying to build a wall around your relationships with your own sacrifices, hoping it will keep people in, but you end up trapping yourself instead. This constant internal tug-of-war leads to a state of chronic conflict within yourself. You live with a persistent, low-grade anxiety, always scanning your environment for potential problems to solve or emotional fires to put out. When you do dare to prioritize yourself, maybe you take an evening off, buy something nice for yourself, or simply say you're too tired to help, the guilt can be overwhelming. It feels wrong, like you're breaking an unwritten rule. This cycle of overgiving, followed by resentment, followed by guilt, is incredibly draining. It often leads to emotional burnout, a state where you feel completely exhausted, cynical, and detached. You've given so much that you have nothing left for anyone, least of all yourself. It's like carrying a pile of heavy weights labeled others' problems, and with each new problem you take on, the pile gets higher and heavier, until you can barely stand. So, where does this pattern even begin? Codependency doesn't just appear out of nowhere in adulthood. Its roots are almost always found in childhood, often in family environments that were dysfunctional in some way. Now, dysfunctional is a broad term. It doesn't necessarily mean a home filled with shouting or overt crisis. It can be much more subtle. For example, if you grew up with a parent who struggled with addiction, a chronic illness, or their own unmanaged mental health issues like depression or anxiety, you might have learned from a very young age that your role was to be the caretaker, to be the good kid, the responsible one, the one who didn't cause any trouble because your caregiver was already overwhelmed. Your needs took a back seat because there was simply no space for them. You learned that love and attention were conditionally received them when you were helpful, quiet, or when you were meeting your parents' emotional needs. Emotional neglect is another common origin. This happens when your caregivers provide for your physical needs, food, shelter, clothing, but are emotionally unavailable. They might not have known how to talk about feelings, how to offer comfort, or how to validate your experiences. As a child, when you felt sad, scared, or angry, you might have been told to stop crying, toughen up, or simply been ignored. You learned that your emotions were a burden, an inconvenience. To maintain a connection with your caregivers, you learned to suppress your own feelings and instead focus on tuning into theirs. You became an expert at reading their moods, anticipating their needs, and doing whatever it took to keep the peace. This is a powerful survival strategy for a child who depends on their caregivers for everything. You create a persona that is easy to love, one that doesn't ask for much, and that gives a lot. The tragedy is that this persona follows you into adulthood long after the original circumstances have changed, and it continues to run the show in your relationships. The good news, the most important message to take away from all of this, is that healing is absolutely possible. Codependency is a learned pattern, and anything that has been learned can be unlearned and replaced with something healthier, too. The path to healing isn't a straight line, and it requires courage and commitment. But it leads to a destination worth fighting for, a true sense of self. The first and most crucial step on this path is self-awareness. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. This means starting to pay attention, without judgment, to your own patterns. When do you feel the urge to people please? What situations or individuals trigger your need to fix things? Notice the guilt that comes up when you think about putting yourself first. Start a journal. Track your feelings. When you say yes to something, ask, did I really want to do this? Or was I afraid of the consequences of saying no? This initial phase is like turning a light on in a room that has been dark for a very long time. It might feel uncomfortable at first to see everything so clearly, but it's the only way to begin navigating your way out. Once you have some awareness, the next step is to begin setting boundaries. This is where the work gets very practical and very challenging. Boundaries are not walls to push people away. They are guidelines to teach people how to treat you and to protect your own energy and well-being. Start small. It could be as simple as saying, I can't talk on the phone right now, but I can call you back in an hour. Or, I can't commit to that right now. I need to check my schedule. Practice saying no to small low-stakes requests. First, to build up your confidence, expect to feel guilty. The guilt will be there because it's a conditioned response. The key is to feel the guilt and act anyway. Remind yourself that your needs are valid and that you are not responsible for managing other people's disappointment. Every time you successfully set a boundary, you are sending a powerful message to your own nervous system that you are safe and that you are worth protecting. You are slowly learning to put down those heavy weights. Of course, you don't have to do this alone. Professional help can be transformative. Therapeutic approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, are incredibly effective. CBT helps you identify the core beliefs that drive your codependent behaviors beliefs, like I am only lovable if I am useful, and then challenge and reframe them into healthier, more realistic thoughts. Another powerful modality is inner child work. This involves connecting with the part of you that learned these survival patterns in the first place. It's about giving your younger self the validation, safety, and unconditional love that you may not have received. By reparenting yourself, you begin to heal those old wounds at their source. Ultimately, the goal of healing from codependency isn't to become fiercely independent and isolated. The goal is to move towards interdependence. Healthy relationships are a two-way street, built on mutual respect, support, and a balance of giving and receiving. In an interdependent relationship, you can be a caring, empathetic person without losing yourself. You can support your loved ones while still honoring your own needs and boundaries. You can be connected to others without being consumed by them. It's a dance of closeness and autonomy, where both people are whole individuals who choose to share their lives. This journey is about moving from a place of fear to a place of love for others that is genuine and not based on obligation. And most importantly, love for yourself. It's about finally looking in the mirror and seeing yourself in all your complexity, with all your needs and desires, and recognizing that you are worthy of your own care. The path might be long, but with each step, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You start to stand a little taller, breathe a little deeper, and feel the light of your own spirit shining through. You are not broken. You are learning to be whole. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this important topic. If this resonated with you, please remember that you are not alone and healing is possible. Sharing your story in the comments can be a powerful step, and you might find a community of people who understand. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more content on mental health and personal growth. Take care of yourself.